Good afternoon, all. It is Sunday, July 7th, just after noon, and we are going to look at some OMAD meals for the last 10 days, maybe, because we run into, some of you, the same struggles that I've tried to address from the beginning. Now, you're going to see meals that are plant-based, not plant-based, junk-based, and so forth and so on. And of course, the message here, as it has been since this channel's inception, is one of your relationship with food is no different than your relationship with life. It's no different than your relationship with the sun, with the oceans, with the moon's pull, gravitational pull on the earth. All of these things matter. Said in my cardinal principles video, you will eat what is around you. Rule number 3. You will eat what is around you. Whereas you can live without illegal drugs, you can't live without food. And in a society where our food is less than ideal, aka standard American diet, we're struggling to make peace with the whole thing. And that's why I want to share something today. Tyler wrote me, and he said, this individual said, I keep planning and starting out so well on OMAD, only to go throughout the day and become too hungry and break down and eat. I'm so good at getting started, and then it all goes to expletive. What can I do? Why can't I get inside my own head and figure myself out and understand why I can't stop bleeping eating? Well, the problem that Tyler's having is the problem that most all of you are having who are struggling. You're planning. Stop planning, start living. It's one of my mottos in life. Have you ever noticed that any time you have always made plans, they blow up in your face? You've planned the perfect vacation. We're going to go to Disneyland for 2 weeks. You get that stupid checklist you make. Maybe you make a Word doc and you print it off and you say, okay, do we have the sunscreen? Check. Do we have the baby diapers? Check. Do we have the boarding pass? And you make a list of about 120 things that you think you need. And then you get there and you still figure out, one of you gets sick, and then you figure something else out, maybe 1 or 2 things that you still forgot, and everything goes wrong. In reality, you would have done much better had you gone out and just gone and not made any lists at all. If you had just packed in a half hour, you'd have done a much better job than if you planned it out and you said, we have a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months to plan. We have $7,000 to spend. We can do this. Let's prepare. It's the same lesson on a test. When a professor says to you, for those of you who are in school, you have 3 months before this paper is due, you're going to do terrible on it. If your professor springs it on you and says it's going to be due in 2 days, you're going to have a great paper. Because that's how our brains prioritize. So one of the hallmark principles of the OMAD Revolution channel has been, you will eat what is around you, make peace with your foods, understand delayed gratification, and keep in control. You can do the test today. Go out, grab 9 Pringles potato chips, or whatever potato chips. That roughly 9 to 11 chips is a serving. It's 160 calories. Put those on your plate. Don't have any more. If you can do that, then, and of course you can do what I'm talking about here. Giving yourself some of something good, but not all. If you can do that, you understand. So stop planning, start living. Quit telling yourself. It's like Alan Watts would say, beating a drum in search of a fugitive. It's, to use today's vernacular, setting off the alarms and sirens when you're looking to catch somebody who's breaking into a building. You don't do that. You turn off the lights. You don't announce your plans. You don't go to everybody and say, hey, I'm going on 1 meal a day. I'm going to start losing weight and feeling great. You don't go and talk about it. Because what you do is you create a situation where you end up a lot less satisfied. Kayla figured this out recently, my 11-year-old. She found out that if you go and you say, this is going to be the best roller coaster ever. She's into roller coasters. I've never seen anything like it. She says, it's going to be great. Everybody's talking about it. She goes down there, she has a miserable time, starts fighting with her friends. She comes back home, they don't want to talk to each other for 2 days. It's always like this. If you live your life with spontaneity, you will find, and you do less planning in the ways of the monk. If you say, let's do less planning, let's do only the bare minimum planning. Do spur of the moment activities and eat spur of the moment meals. That's where we're going here. Then you're going to have a much, much, much better day. So let's look at the first meal here. We have garbanzo beans with Monterey mushrooms boiled in. This was a fresh batch. I think 2 apples there, or 1 apple cut up, 2 bananas, blueberries, blackberries, raisins, and grapes, almonds and peanuts, I think, and then 2 Nature's Own granola bars, oats and honey, with a good dab of peanut butter and dry raw oats. I'm one of those weird folks who likes garbanzo beans. Next meal. This is the shake is a vegan pea protein chocolate shake. It's actually really, really good. And it has almond milk in there, almond and cashew milk. Same thing as before, vegan meal. We have 2 bananas, the same almonds and peanuts, and then blackberries, blueberries, and I believe that is some stew there at the bottom. I don't remember what I had this day. So next is blueberries, some stir fry that I just whipped up on the go, some more nuts. These may not be consecutive, by the way. These days may have been separated by a couple other meals, but I wanted to grab a sampling and present them today. White rice, one of truly the greatest things on this earth. I do not do brown rice. I do not do wild rice very often. I do white rice mixed with steak seasoning, pinto bean seasoning, a little bit of turmeric, and of course salt and pepper. That's it. Maybe some Cajun spice too. Your rice tastes good if you don't overcook it. Of course, apples and whatnot, but that stir fry is a way to go. And you'll notice something about my dishes. Usually I always separate the rice with anything else I'm having, and there's a reason for that. Rice to me is an anti-poverty food. It's a poverty food that most poor countries of the world eat, but they do so with the appreciation that what little they have that day is all that they have. So they've got to make the best out of it. So when I consume rice, I put myself in that headspace. I say, imagine only having this rice. I put myself in that special headspace and I say, this could be all I have. And I would be extremely grateful for it. So rice is still one of my most reserved and yet satisfying foods to me. And I'll never be at a point where I'll be without it. Stir fry, you can grab them at the store in a bag and just throw them in a wok or pan. I water fry. I usually don't do oils of any kinds unless it's a rare occasion. Next is more stir fry. This is a different kind. I added a bunch of canned vegetables like corn and a few other things, mixed vegetables. Lima beans or navy beans, more rice, strawberries, and about 3 apples and a banana. And next, bam, really good stuff. This comes from Henry's Puffy Taco on 410 in San Antonio. If you are in San Antonio, you need to try Henry's Puffy Taco. They are one of the best major restaurants that you can go to and get a sit-down meal that's clean and upscale. That is also really good. It is the chips are very tough. It's a particular style. The salsa is on the hotter side, but not outrageous. And I'm a true salsa fanatic, so it's very odd, or very, very rare rather, that anyone is going to make a salsa that can tax me. But this is the flavor is very good. Now in the other examples, you've seen that I have meals that are way below the calorie line. I'm getting much less calories than I would need in a normal day. Again, there's a method to this madness. I'm not advocating that if you're eating plant-based that you're always getting low calories. This is an example of the opposite. This is about 2,700 to 3,500 calories, give or take. That's a tea there, sweet tea, chips. I had one full basket, and we're going to come back in a minute to Mexican food, and I'm going to show you a tip for when you eat out. But you're going to vary your days of necessity between high and low calories. So for those of you who email me about getting low calories or high calories, it's going to be hard to track that over the long term. When you're starting out weight loss and you are very obese, if you can just establish the baseline one meal platform and not worry about calories, that's good. Just start with the one plate, start with taking control, start with not snacking, and then you can kind of refine. You can go downward. You can say, okay, I'm going to make sure I'm eating only one plate today. And as you transition, for those of you who have not, to a healthier way of eating. Some of you are starting healthier eating, and that's different than coming to healthier eating like I did. I used to hate all healthy foods. So I eventually developed a taste for fruits by eliminating candies and junk. That's how you do it. You eliminate cakes and sugars and junk, or cut them down to special occasions only, and lo and behold, you develop, in a state of fasting, a taste for strawberries and for blueberries and for things that are actually a blessing to your body, which is one of the reasons why you should limit sugar on OMAD. But this is an example of making sure you're putting back in calories that you took out. And again, these are all weight loss meals. So you can eat bigger on a certain meal versus another one. All right, here's a brain food meal. Fish, the ultimate brain food. This is the jumbo-sized can in the front in oil. It is, I believe, white tuna. Behind that is pink salmon from Kirkland. It's a Costco brand. You can get a whole bunch of them. And then that's just a regular bowl of Lay's potato chips. I have a thing from childhood. We used to go on picnics, and my grandmother would make us tuna fish sandwiches with these chips. So to this day, I continue the tradition, only I don't do the bread. I just do tuna straight from a can, like so. The most tasty thing here is the pink salmon in that can. They come in 6 to 12 packs. You can get them, and they're very cheap as far as any sort of meat or poultry goes. I would recommend them strongly. Then, of course, there's a can of sardines, and you can see the crackers on top. Now, the purpose of this meal, I do this weekly with fish now. It is a regular part of my routine. I don't really much like fish, but I have redeveloped a taste for it, and I have found that since adding it back to my diet, I am much more positive, I am calmer, I am less angry, I am less agitated in general, and my mood is better. This no doubt has to do with the omega-3 to omega-6 ratio. This is you're getting omega-3 when you're getting this. I'm eating it straight out of the can. I'm not cooking it. I'm not doing anything to it. If you combine all this protein, it comes to, and what's not pictured here is the little protein shake I sometimes have with it. That's about 35 grams of protein. So I'm looking at about 220 grams of protein from this meal, including the shake, which again is not visible. Sardines are just sardines in oil with the stuff you see at Walmart for a few cents a can. And on the biscuit there, biscuits are truly one of the most amazing things in all of creation. That is loaded with butter and nothing else on this occasion. So why do this? Again, the point is to balance. I have found that your stability is of course the most important thing. Stability being the most important thing. I love this meal. It requires very few calories on a meal like this because it is so protein rich. To feel good emotionally and physically, and to feel full with only this little food. So imagine that whole bowl of chips is about 310 calories. If you add all of the meat together, that's not even 600 calories. The biscuit is the most calorically dense thing, and the butter, so that puts me at just about 1,000 calories, maybe a little over, but that's not much food for the day, unlike our last meal. So, but again, mood food. If you do nothing else, eat pink salmon and tuna once a week. That is one of my recommendations, especially if you are fighting an autoimmune disorder of any kind. Make this a regular part of your week. That said, do not overdo it because although tuna is slightly lower in mercury, it does have measurable levels that you can, unlike swordfish where you can overdose very easily. Tony Robbins, the motivational speaker, nearly died from mercury poisoning. That probably will never happen with tuna, but if you have 2 to 3 cans per day or every other day or a couple of days a week, you're doing just fine. Tuna is one of the reasons I have not eliminated flesh food. Again, I can have 1 can, maybe 2 cans, and just eat it straight out of the can and then drink down the juice, and I feel marvelous all week. It's like I took a magic pill that makes the world seem a lot nicer. It doesn't make you high, but it restores, does something to our ratios of omega-6 to omega-3. We get too much omega-6, we don't get enough omega-3. This is one of the things I will do probably until the day I drop dead. And I would recommend that you do the same. 1 day a week or every 2 weeks, a high salmon tuna meal. Next, we're back to Mexican food. Didn't I tell you we'd come back to it and we were going to explore how to control yourself at a Mexican restaurant? Number one, fill up the chips only once. When they give you that nice little basket of chips, eat it once and do not ask them for any refills. Some places charge you for refilling the basket of chips. A good place will not. Shout out to Las Carretas in San Antonio, Texas. This is the place of the famous Chef Rogelio, who has been 48 years one of the leading chefs of San Antonio. You guys are seeing all this Spanish food. The reason for that is we are in the South here, and that is getting breakfast tacos at 5 a.m. is something you can do. If you live in New York or Michigan or North Dakota or Maine or, Nevada or some other place, even in places like California, it's still a lot harder to get good breakfast tacos. But down here in San Antonio and Houston, not so much Houston, but more San Antonio is the mecca. San Antonio and McAllen, Texas are the places where, and Laredo, of course, as well, are the true places of Hispanic cuisine genius. Just stop. If you're from Colorado, New Mexico, no, you're not as good. I mean, you're okay. You're doing all right compared to the other states, but you got nothing on San Antonio. Down here, you can get stuff that is just so good you'll fall to pieces. And you can take your pick of restaurants, even in the early morning hours, and there'll be small little hole-in-the-wall restaurants open where you can get just food that would just kill you over. It's that good. You'll notice when I go, I always get 2 things of salsa. I get a red salsa and I get the hot or green salsa. They know me by name here at Las Carretas. This is over on Parambital Road if you're in San Antonio. And then, of course, I have a sweet tea there again. When I go out, I do not add Splenda or anything. I do not treat it. I treat it like a meal beverage, so it does have calories. That's about 300 calories with the sugar in that tea. And then I order, and here's a second tip, by the way. One is don't fill up the chips. 2 is order a la carte. Just order a single portion. So order 1 fajita, like I've done here, or order 1 taco. That will keep your calories within a low calorie framework so you can go and get done what you need to. If you go and order like a whole plate, you order a 3 cheese enchilada combo with rice and beans and a burrito on the side or a chalupa on the side, guess what? You're going to be zonked because that's going to be heavy food. It's going to weigh you down. I was preparing to move this day. I am in the process of moving again here, and so my life has been really changing this summer. But my challenge averted is a smaller a la carte meal. So when you go to a Mexican restaurant, number one, don't refill the basket of chips, and number two, order a la carte. This is a beef fajita with bell peppers and onions, and you'll notice I poured all the rest of the green sauce on it. And then once I sit there and sip on my tea and read my emails, maybe read an ebook or something, I'm ready to go again, and I don't have anything to worry about. Bam! A couple days later, I'm at Panda Express in Kingwood, Texas. This is the three entree plate, and I ordered a couple extra egg rolls. So we're looking here about probably 2,900, 3,000 calories for the whole meal. Again, we're bouncing up and we're bouncing down. You're going to have days where you go way high on your calories, and you're going to go days where you have way low. The previous meal was a protein-ish meal. with carbs and fat. I felt good. Again, when you use a protein-based approach, you can get less food and have less calories and still have the protein and fats to feel satiated. Now this is a hodgepodge. This is a bunch of carbs as well as protein, so you would get more of an insulin reaction from a meal like this, but it's still satisfying because it's Chinese food. Uh, and then what did I have? I had just a water because the tea at this particular restaurant was kind of rancid. You ever go to where you go to order a sweet tea and you go and then you can tell they haven't changed it out in a while. They let it go too long and it started to ferment. But ultimately, Panda Express is another great way to go. A tip there would be if you're eating out, just go with the normal. Go with the normal plate. Just make sure that you cap it off. You'll notice the little box, the little red box on the left-hand side is an extra entree. So this would not be an ideal way to lose weight, but again, it offsets days where you have less calories. Your caloric expenses can be figured over a 7-day interval or a 30-day interval even if you are willing to keep track. So if you have 500 calories one day, 500 calories the next, and then you have 2,000, well, you've kind of offset the days where you've had less. You're still going to net less calories at the end of the month. So don't be too afraid, again, for those of you who are counting calories. Next, my friends at the Marriott George Bush Intercontinental Hotel treated me to a meal here. My friends, this was the best steak I have had in probably forever. It is a medium rare steak with those borracho beans there. The best, hands down, I have ever had. You and your grandmother's best dear sister-in-law from way back when cannot do as well as was done right here. The French fries were great. The dipping sauce was great. Everything here was just super. I do not know what they used in those beans, but I was so satisfied. I honestly had to control my emotion. I was meeting with the managers at the hotel there, and this was a true treat. I went throughout my day, and I felt like an absolute rock star. So shout out to Marriott Intercontinental George Bush, the airport hotel there. Excellent cooking, and that's their secret, but it's not a secret anymore because I just told you. And we're going to close out today with what I had yesterday. This is another little Mexican meal. I have a banana. I have 2 chopped up Fuji apples. I have a series of hot sauces here, the Taco Cabana salsa roja, and then some pico de gallo and some cilantro. And I got the taco dinner, refried beans and rice, some guac, and tortillas with a soft beef taco and a bean and cheese taco. And then I treated myself to a sweet tea right after this right here. I just shot a picture of it and I wanted to send it your way. So to close out, your real power is to understand that everything around you you will eat and that you need to make what is around you you need to make peace with. Your life, every aspect of it depends on every other aspect of it. So if you can keep track of your meals, you don't need to feel guilty. You don't need to say, well, I wanted to eat this, but I didn't get to eat this. And of course, while we're on that topic, a lot of the reason you don't see more greens and juices in here is because in the transition of moving, I don't have out my juicer. It's all packed up. So I don't have the opportunity to do that. Normally, at least twice a week, I would be doing some carrot and celery and kale and some other juices. But again, your best meal is the one that fits perfectly for that day. So if you're driving around one day, you are truly strong if you can stop at Jack in the Box, or if you can stop at a local deli, or if you can go to some place to get what you know would work for you. The less planning, the better you are. Stop planning, start living.